Hello everyone, this is Team Code Gone Wild and I am Snehal, and this is our submission for Hack Jaipur. So uh, before starting with the demo, I would like to explain you why we chose this project. Our project's name is Quell and we aim to solve the mental illnesses that trouble a lot of people these days. And since mental illnesses such as depression and other mental conditions is not really talked about that much, we wanted to do something about it and make it more mainstream. We wanted people to consider it as an equal disorder as any other physical disorder. So let's start with the demo so that I can explain you better. I'll run the front end using npm start. Actually, I tried to host the whole project onto Heroku, but there was some minor HTTP and HTTPS issues, so I wasn't able to do that on time. So this is our front end. As you can see, it's not really that good, but we really worked on the functional part of the app. So what our app is, we wanted to make a common platform for such people where people can anonymously talk about themselves and talk their hearts out to other similar people, and they can relate to them. And when they talk about their lives, other people in the group would be able to get something good from it. Like they would be able to understand the other guy's perspective and think that their own life might not be as miserable as they might think. So let's get started. So this app works on the basis on the assumption that there is a surplus amount of certain groups. So there are basically two kinds of people in our project. One is the therapists and other are the users. So each group is handled by one therapist. So let's create an account for a therapist. So maybe therapist, maybe Snehal @ therapist.com. And as you can see, I've implemented it in Auth0 and even the social logins work. And let's enter password 1234 ABCD and let's sign up. So upon sign up, it queries a MongoDB database and checks for whether the user is already available on the database or not. So if it is not available, the my backend assumes that it is a new user, and then it shows up this form to take in extra user data. So I can enter my name here and I can choose what kind of user I am. So as I said, our app depends on whether the therapist is available or not. So our app depends on a surplus amount of therapists. So let's make a therapist account first so that we'll be able to board in other users. So as you can see, the questionnaire was fairly straightforward, and this is our UI. All right. So this is a therapist account, right? Now I want to create another account for the users, right? So let's create another account. I'll log out from here and I'll log in again. Okay. This would be a sam@user.com. Again, 1 2 3 4 @abcd. And as you can see, now it's got another questionnaire, and this time I'll add an anonymous name because people might not want to add their own real names in such an app where they want to share out their feelings. So I've given them the liberty to do that. So let's add James, and this would be a user account. And here I've given them a simple question based on what they might think. We plan to, in a future version of this app, swap this with a questionnaire that would be used to then that would be used to collect some answers from the user, and based on those answers we'll pass those answers to a categorization algorithm, and then determine what condition the user uh, have has the most, and that we'll store. So for now, for the sake of explanation, I've just given radio buttons here, and let's finish and sign up. So as you can see, just any moment now, as you can see, now there are two users in this group. So if there are a surplus amount of groups, the users would be joined at random so as to maintain the diversity of the whole platform. And that's what we are also that's what we are also aiming for here, diversity and health. So let's have some message here. I feel good to join. And if I send it, as you can see, it gets added here. Here you can see some contacts that might be added later on to get help in some situations. And here's a GitHub repo. I just added it for explanation's sake. And as you can see, I can also see the therapist, right? Now I'll show you something cool. So I entered my condition, right? But the other users can't see it. So that's because I have only given a therapist the authority to see it and act based on that. So let's log in back to snail at the rate therapist.com slash um, this, and any moment now. So this time I logged in, and as you can see, I can see all the users that have their different disorders. And we also made a Python API for running a bot on the server so that the users can be curated based on whatever they are feeling at the moment. The Python API is run using a sentiment analysis algorithm, and my teammate Sundram will explain it more.
This API is receiving recent messages as post request and is performing a sentiment analysis on the string of messages. The output is JSONified with two objects, score and sentiment, which is being sent back to the parent API.
So if we take a look at the database schema for MongoDB, it's something like this. So I'm storing the users inside this collection users, and each user is identified by their auth0 ID, and that's how I'm connecting auth0 to my own backend. And then the messages are basically just a collection, a JSON object of the group ID in which those were sent, and the username by which they were sent, and the message itself. And the groups are made by the IDs of the therapists, and the members contains an array of all the members present in the group. So now let me show you the yeah so now let me show you the front back end of the app. And there's not really much to see there because most of it is just queries and the middleware handler for auth0. And I've implemented all the queries behind auth0, and I've also used sockets for the chat API itself. So this was our submission, and you can find more details on our readme on the GitHub repo and also on the devfolio project submission page. Thank you.